Hey everyone, welcome back to Two Rivers Tabak Book Club. Today I am your host, Andrew, and I'm joined by Josh.
Hello there.
Hey, we're covering Winter's Heart, again by Robert Jordan. It's book 9 in the Wheel of Time series, the longest fantasy series ever. I don't know if that's true, but it's going to be chapters 27 through 32. We actually originally were going to do 27 to the end, but we decided to kind of split it up. So we're going to do 27 to 32, and then we'll do a different video over 33 to the end. But this video is just going to be 27 to 32. So we can get right into it here. I'm just going to look at my notes here. So the first part of this chapter is Elaine's perspective. So Elaine is going to meet with the Borderlanders. Again, the Borderlanders are the people that border the Blight, right? They're the people that were in the second book and part of the first book, I think, too. Like the Shinarans and all the people up in the north who constantly have to deal with Trollocs and stuff like that. So they actually came down to Andor, and Elaine is meeting with all their, leaders. So Elaine chooses to introduce herself as a green Aes Sedai instead of the daughter heir because she's trying to, speak to them as an Aes Sedai rather than royalty. And so the Borderlanders tell Elaine that they're looking for Rand. Elaine makes an agreement with them. She understands this is kind of a volatile situation, right? They brought a pretty sizable army into Andor. So she makes an agreement with them that says, all right, I'm going to tell you approximately where Rand is as long as you leave Andor within a week so that there's no bloodshed between your army and like other Andoran armies. So they agree to that. She tells them that he's somewhere in Murandy. Um, After that conversation, a scout comes. I can't remember if it was a scout or just one of the council people with Elaine, but he tells Elaine that there's four small armies approaching Camelin right now. They don't know what nation they're under yet. Robert Jordan kind of leaves that as a cliffhanger, but Elaine, there's just a bunch of details about Elaine basically preparing for a siege of Camelin. So that's kind of the first part we got
Yeah.
here. Yeah, go ahead.
This this whole scene uh is just showing like how Elaine's character uh basically like grew up as a princess. Like she has all this knowledge of how to run a kingdom. So not only does she have to play the housing game to become queen, she also gets to hide that she's pregnant with the dragon reborn son or daughter. And now she has to try to have a communication with these borderlanders by not because they're like they're borderlanders that they don't really care too much about uh royalty as such. Like they're more a lot more blunt. So Elaine is now thinking, oh, I can't approach them as the queen even though she's not even queen yet. So she that's why she chooses Aes Sedai, because she knows they will respect her more as an Aes Sedai rather than the queen. And so it's like it's all a mental game that she's playing and juggling to get the best advantage she possibly could get. And then like out of nowhere there's like, all right, now there's a lot four more armies showing up, and she's just like, ah, bro. She has a lot on her plate. Interesting to see what comes of it.
Yeah, she has a lot of stuff she's dealing with, just like how you listed out that laundry list there. I think it's really fun kind of seeing this perspective of Elaine. We know that she's a princess. We know that she grew up in royalty. We know that she is capable of like running a nation. So now we're really seeing her starting to do it. So it's kind of cool to see, but it is also like there's a lot of shit going on for sure. Now there's about to be another siege. We still haven't even gotten to the Tarvalin siege that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Egwene is supposedly gonna do at some point. So now we have Elaine who's potentially gonna have to defend her city, which I imagine I mean, I guess I'll make a prediction right now that she'll defend the city and that'll help her standing as like being the queen or whatever. This will kind of solidify her standing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to see how it
That's a good
goes.
prediction.
Yeah, no, we'll see, we'll see. But
Yeah, I another little thing with this whole debacle or whatever. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but how she walks in with Avienda and I keep wanting to say Roberta, but I know it's not Roberta.
oh man,
Her warder.
Oh, Brigida. Brigida. Yeah,
Brigida.
the
I don't know
archer.
why. For some reason, I just keep whatever.
You're good. There's a
Doesn't
lot of
matter.
damn names, dude.
Yeah. But so Brigida is in there back to her watching the entrance,
Yep.
or was it Avienda? No, Avienda was like next to her, right?
Something
But
like that, yeah.
Avienda, whether it's told at a certain point to not say a word, so she doesn't, and then her warder's watching Elaine's back, and then I can't remember exactly what happened because, but Avienda started laughing, and then one of the ladies in the council is just like, "Who brought in this Aiel dog?" All this that's my sister.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
my
like
sister.
it was that whole part. Loved it. It was hilarious. Not only was it super funny, but I love Avienda. She cracks me up.
Avienda is great now as a character. But yeah, like her declaring like, "Oh, this is my warder. She's a female," which has never really been done, and then, "Oh, this Aiel is my sister," which is makes no sense, and she doesn't explain any of it either. She's just like,
Yeah. Yeah. She's
that's
like the
kind of
less she
funny,
explains, the better.
right?
But yeah, Lena's a lot going on. That's the last time we see her in the book, right?
Yeah, this is
I
the
feel
last
like.
time, and we're kind of jumping ahead, but yeah, but this is the last time we see her in this section. So yeah, definitely kind of a cliffhanger moment. But yeah, this is the last part. But
It'll
I
be interesting to see what comes of it.
yeah, no, definitely. There's a lot of cliffhangers in this section, I feel like. But we'll kind of get into that. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with this situation?
Uh, no, I mean this section I think just goes to show that Elaine's uh critical thinking ability is times 10, and we'll see where it leads her.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so like I said, we're in Elaine's perspective for a bit there. We're not going to see it again in this section, but we're going to switch to Matt's perspective now in Ebudar. So I'm just going to set the like context of this from my notes. So Queen Tylan is about to leave for a week to explore the lands that she's going to own with the Shanchan. So this is a good opportunity for Matt to start to orchestrate his escape, right? So he starts to, orchestrate it. He tells Julin, "Hey, can you steal 3 Suldam dresses and a Damani dress so we can disguise the Aes Sedai that I want to get out of this area as well." So Julian starts working on that. Beslin. So I'm only gonna bring up this point because I thought it was like an interesting way to think about this from again like an RPG game perspective. But Beslin is one of the sons of Queen Tylan. He proposes that instead of this plan that Matt has been talking about for a while, he's like, why don't we just create an uprising with all the chained Aes Sedai, and then try to overthrow the Shan-Chan, just take the city back, and then you can just leave. So he proposes that plan, and Matt's like, "No, I'm not going to do that." But I wanted to ask, like, again, the RPG question of like, if you were playing a video game, if we were playing a video game, the Wheel of Time, Winter's Heart, video game 9 in the series, would you decide to go with the more covert plan that Matt has, been orchestrating for a while, or would you try to do something more, you know, like this uprising with Beslin, like a little bit more flair. I don't know how to describe that, but what would you
Well,
do?
with my knowledge of the Sanchan and how they're the Damani are basically broken down into like basically being dogs, and their mindsets like as they are slaves, their mindsets change into just accepting their role as a slave, except they don't really like think of it like that. Like they think of it like how a dog would think of their master or their owner, and everything they do. Because there's that one point, I can't remember if Matt was talking about this, but there's one point where one of the Demani were saying how, or I think it was one of the Aes Sedai actually that Matt was talking to, was like, uh, there would be times where I would want to I would want to please my uh what did they call him? Like there was a
The Suldom, yeah, they wanted to like please
Soldom.
them after the
Yeah.
treats and stuff. Yeah, like a
Yeah, so
dog.
Yeah, so they want to please him, and then at one point she's just like, I didn't want to please the Suldam for the treats. I wanted to please the Suldam because I love the Suldam. And so it's like the Sanshan have basically like destroyed these people's brains, like and mentally fucked them up. So the Damani are basically, like I said, they're like guard dogs, like wolves, for the Sanchan. So going with Beslin's idea of creating an uprising with them would definitely not work. And even if you did get some of like the newly chained Aes Sedai, there's still the Aes Sedai who's been there for months, maybe years, who are already like mentally gone. Like they're just dogs now. They're slaves. And so definitely would go with the more covert plan with Mats. It just knowing what we know about the Damani, it's in the Sanchan. I just don't feel like I feel like that's an easy way to get captured and killed.
Yeah, no, that's
So
definitely fair. I think I agree with you on the Aes Sedai portion where, yeah, he had a conversation with Teslin, which is one of the Aes Sedai trying to get out of the city. And she talked about exactly what you talked about, that some of the Aes Sedai already are broken and don't want to even fight the Shan Chan. But what would you do if Queen Tylan said, what if Besson was like, okay, let's try to break out the Aes Sedai that we think would be able to fight, and then we also got Queen Tylan to agree, yeah, let's also do this uprising. I'm gonna get all the guards together. We're gonna create like an insurrection, and we're gonna try to like set a coup and like try to do an uprising. Would you still go with the covert plan, or at that point would you consider the uprising?
well, then I would measure the probability of winning with the cost of lives. Because when the Sanchan first arrived, they absolutely like they barely destroyed like they said they barely destroyed any buildings, and they easily took over the city. And so, uh, knowing that, it already tells me that their military power it far superior than anything they could muster up from maybe a few Aes Sedai Damani that would fight against them, plus the guards and stuff that are already there. It just doesn't seem likely because I feel like even if they did do the uprising, the Sanchan are just too powerful, and there's just too many Damani that would side with the Soldams that it just wouldn't even be worth it. So, uh, because I would think the probability of losing would probably be like 99.9% if they started the uprising. Because it's like a lot of, besides the guards, you had to think of all the civilians and the children that would probably die in the crossfire as well. And it's like, all we're trying to do is get Matt out. And then once Ran like defeats the Dark One or like returns or something, there could be like, they have multiple networking type power, like knowing people that where they could eventually probably liberate the city in a easier fashion. You just gotta give it time. So I feel like I would probably still go with the covert because the only thing they're trying to do is get a few Aes Sedai out and get Matt out, and that's it. Uh, Everything else is pretty fine. It's peaceful. A lot of people are still alive. And so for the time being, I'd just say be patient, live with it for now. There's more important things to worry about, and that's defeating the Dark One.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with pretty much everything you said there. Another reason I kind of brought this question, even though I think there is more of an obvious answer, where like, yeah, you should just do the covert plan, um, is it kind of We're gonna get into it, obviously, talking about this, but it kind of turns into not a not so covert plan because they keep
Yeah.
adding people, and then in fact, Matt even, we're gonna get into it as well, but he, shows one of the sea folk how to take off the IDOM, and it's like, okay, well, that's going to create an insurrection, obviously. So like, at this point, you're basically just doing the plan that you said you weren't gonna do. But yeah, we'll get
right?
it. We'll get into that in a second here. But did you have anything else you wanted to discuss before I kind of move on?
Oh, it's it's weird because you hear a couple things in life where it's like, oh, if you plan for B, then you're not going to give it all into plan A because you have something to fall back on. So if you don't have something to fall back on, then you're gonna really strive and complete A. Uh, and I feel like that is accurate in some aspects, but the more people you add to a situation, the more complicated it gets. And I feel like I don't know if this just sounds random bringing up that A and B thing I just told about, but I feel like that sort of plan is more for like an individual person reaching their goals. And I know in this, Matt's mentioned making plan B, C, and like so on because the military power, because like the more people involved, the more likely it's going to get fucked up. So, and more complicated. So, you need to have multiple plans for multiple situations that either fail or whatnot. So, uh, Matt is preparing, like, even though it goes crazy, he is always trying to think one step ahead. The dice are always rolling.
I'm so fricked up, man. I'm so fricked up.
God, those dice. Ah.
The dice are rolling.
Dice are rolling.
But yeah, I agree with
So
everything
yeah,
you said.
is there anything you disagree on?
Um, no, I prompted that questions to create that conversation because I think it's an
Oh,
interesting
okay.
conversation.
Yeah,
I felt like it was an obvious answer too, where it's like you shouldn't do that, but then he kind of does it anyway. So that's I just wanted to create like that irony, I guess, when I get into this section.
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So just more context on the situation here for my notes. So Tom, again, Tom's part of this plan, of course. Tom, Julian, and Matt are the three musketeers, baby, besties for life. So Tom
Let's
learns
go.
that one of the blood can take Damani out of the city with no questions asked. So they can do whatever they want, basically. But they need a signed order, from the blood to do that. So I'm just bringing that up because it's going to be important later. But during this planning, the Golem also is continuing to kill in the city. He's just sporadically killing people and draining them of all their blood because they're like a vampire thing. and
Yeah.
Matt, and at that point, it's kind of sending the city into a like sense of unease because the Shan Shan obviously are all about order and control. So the fact that this like Golem is just going around killing people and nobody can find it is making people uneasy. So Matt is like, getting more and more stressed out because he's like, man, the city is like on edge. I'm trying to leave this city. I don't know when Thailand's gonna come back because they might come back early because his Golem's killing all these people. So he thinks he probably only has about 2 or 3 days to escape at this point. Luckily, the positive part of this section is Julian is able to steal the disguises, the sold on disguises. So they return to the Wandering Woman, where Jolene is. She's the Aes Sedai who's hiding in the tavern, the Wandering Woman. And she tries to test out a stolen idom that they have, but she kind of just falls down in pain, and they don't really know how to use it. So Matt's like, okay, I got to change my plan. Kind of like what you're saying, Josh. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he has to change his plan. And
That part
yeah, go ahead.
was so I was like that part was rough where they're putting she's like, "Yeah, I can take it." And then they like try it and she's just fucking screaming in pain and Matt's just like I can just picture Matt like cringing like, "Oh god, I shouldn't have done that." And then the warders are just livid. They're
Yeah,
pissed. They're like,
they
"She's not doing
definitely
this again."
have a sexual relationship.
Yes,
So
probably.
at least it's
It's
implied.
hinted at. It's
Yeah.
implied. That's hot. Let's go, Robert Jordan.
Dude, Jolene is a lucky woman. No, okay.
Oh
So,
boy.
no, yeah, I agree with you. It's like pretty stark to see her put on the idom and immediately just be in agony, which, thinking about it logically, it makes sense. Just putting on something that relinquishes all your control, or takes away all your control. I mean, that's like fucking horrible. So,
Yeah, what's the themes? What's the themes we got here?
threesomes.
All right. I'm just,
Don't
that's what
wear
they're probably doing.
IDOMs. Don't
Don't wear
be
IDOMs.
a slaver.
Where's the male IDOM? That's with the. It's with what's his name?
Oh man, I can't even remember where the male IDOM is. I know they bring it up in this
They
section at some point. Yeah. Go ahead.
oh if we get to it, we'll get to it, and if we don't, then I'll mention it.
Okay.
Then I'll mention it before we end
Okay. Cool.
because I kind of remember. Actually, well, I do remember, but all right, you can continue.
Sick. All right. So yeah, Matt's like, all right, we can't do this anymore. We can't put the IDOM on her. This isn't gonna work. So he's like, shit, I don't know what we're gonna do. And that's when Gannon, again, who is one of the blood at this point, she's the one who is in love with Bail Domon, the sailor. She's one of the Shan Chan. And
Okay, I can stop you there real
yeah,
quick.
go.
Those two are the ones who have the male IDOM. There we go.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
waiting. All right, so
They
they
have the
have it.
male IDOM, which is extremely important, obviously, because if people find out about it, then they could try to,
Yeah.
chain ran.
If
But
anyone
really, any
remembers,
Ashaman, really. So
yeah,
yeah.
really. So it was from book 4 or 5 where Bale was supposed to dump it.
Oh
It was,
yeah, you're right.
and he didn't. So just throwing that out.
He's
Real
a
quick.
scurvy sailor who did not throw it away.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah, son of a bitch. Anyway, he kind of redeems himself here, but not really. So he and Ganon talk with Matt. They all go back to the Wandering Woman. They have a little beersy, little brewski. And Matt learns that Ganon is running from the Seekers. So once Matt kind of learns that, he's like, all right, I can strike a deal with you where it's like, all right, I will help you escape as well. Again, going back to the theme now of adding more people to this plan. And if you can provide me with 3 real Suldam to like help with the escape. So Ganon's like, yeah, I can do that. So
I was told I could
yeah,
trust you.
The way
Matt Cawthon.
For all 3 of you who listen to this podcast, but for the people who don't listen to audiobooks, the way the author, the voice actors like talk when the Shan Chan talk is just hilarious because obviously Robert Jordan describes them as like being drunk almost, like they slur, like they drawl.
Very lispy.
Yeah, they like drawl. So he just talks like they're fucking snakes. Like
reminds me of Harry Potter.
Yeah, it does sound like Harry Potter, like they're fucking parcel tongues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have like the context of the plan now. We got like general building blocks of this plan. So Matt and Ganon start to carry it out. So the first part of this plan is Beslin, again the son of Queen Tylan, and his friends light a bunch of Shan Chan stuff on fire to create a distraction. And then Ganon goes and meets with Jolene with the Suldam. Tom, Jolene, and the others will meet with Matt later. And Julin is making his way to Thera. So you can already see here how there's a lot of people involved in this. And it's only going to get crazier. So Matt meets up with Ganon and Jolene. And then the next part I kind of wrote about here was what I was alluding to earlier with the Sea Folk Windfinder. So Matt is now in the Damani Kennels, quote unquote. And he goes into one of the kennels and encounters like a Sea Folk Windfinder. So after talking to her for a little bit, he shows her how to remove the IDOM. He has her remove it 3 times just to make sure she understands how to remove it. And he tells her, okay, please wait 3 hours before removing this IDOM and getting the other Windfinders out of here because I'm trying to escape right now. So, she agrees to that. But of course, again, we're throwing another person into this equation. Is she going to wait the 3 hours? Who knows? So,
Yeah, it's
yeah, go
what's
ahead.
really interesting about this escape that they're trying to do. It's just it sounds so simple, and then Robert Jordan keeps throwing in these curveballs. That's like because it's like how are we supposed to make this interesting? And he found a way. It's like every time something would happen, it would go wrong, and then Matt would have to think on his toes real quick of a solution or something like this where he really didn't have to do this, and he's just
No.
like he's a good guy. So he's like, you can say whatever you want, right? You're right, like with your words and shit, but your actions speak louder than your words. And so when Matt talks, he's kind of like sometimes he's kind of like a whiny womanizer, sex addict, alcoholic
Piece of
gambler,
shit, asshole,
piece of shit,
dickhead,
asshole,
fucking
dick.
idiot.
Yeah.
No, no, we all love Matt, but yeah, no,
Yeah, but
you're right.
yeah, but it's like at the end of the day, look at the actions he's taken to like, even save someone from slavery when he's trying to escape. He's on a time crunch, and he's still risking it all just to save maybe one more person. And then when you think of it, what's one more person?
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, yeah, okay, Matt, I'm down.
Yeah, no, I debated on putting this in my notes, but then I thought about it more and I'm like, this is a good character moment for Matt because like you said, he can be kind of an asshole a lot with his words, but yeah, like these actions like here really show you that he is a good person. And even though his original plan and he's kind of sulky about it at some points, but he's like, "Oh, I just want to get out of here with Tom and Julie and let's just make it really simple." And it gets more complicated as time goes on, but that kind of just shows that he cares, right? Like he doesn't want people to be stuck with the Shan Chan. So yeah, it's definitely like a character moment for him. So that's why I included it. But yeah,
Cool. That's all I had on that. You can.
all
Sorry
right.
for keep interrupting you in the
No,
middle of
please
things.
interrupt me at any point. Feel free to interrupt me, even if I'm in the middle of a passage. Please interrupt me because I don't remember everything. I don't think people are. Our three listeners probably aren't here for my amazing memory. So
They've memorized it completely,
yeah, they're
and so
fucking yeah. So that way they can call me out later on when I
yeah.
miss shit. So
Leave in the comments of how much shit
how
Andrews
much
missed.
this guy sucks.
All right.
So yeah, afterward, so Matt comes out of that room, that kennel, whatever, and he encounters Eganon talking to a Durasaldom. I don't know how to pronounce it. I can't remember how the voice actor said it, but it's like a head Suldom. And the head Soldom's like, hey, you can't take Teslin out of here. She's not ready to like be out in the field. And Ganon kind of talks her way out of it. At one point, Matt's like, hey, you want me to choke this girl out? Because
Yeah.
he's like behind her and he could easily just choke her out and they could hide her. But Eganon's like, no, you don't. She indicates to him, you don't need to do that. Just leave, and I can handle it. So I thought that was kind of a funny moment. But anyway, Ganon, talks her way out of it. Matt goes to Queen Tylan's bedchambers and he actually finds Queen Tylan in there. A surprise, surprise. They have to have their moment. But yeah.
That was so damn funny. This whole scene. I'll let you talk through it first, and then we can go into
Yeah,
further
yeah,
details.
absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, she's in there. She's returned early. The long and short of this is, they talk for a little while. Queen Tylan ends up kissing him and then slapping him right after a Robert Jordan classic of a woman kissing a man, then immediately slapping him. Um,
It was the 90s,
it was the
early
90s. I mean, I'm not
2000s.
gonna say it still happens now. It was funny for me. I laughed like literally out loud when that happened. But
Yeah, I loved it. Me too.
Queen Tylan's like, hey, why don't you stay with me one more night and then you can leave tomorrow? Like she doesn't have any problem with him leaving, basically. She's like, you can stay with me one more and then leave tomorrow. But he's like, all right, I have to leave tonight. Matt actually tries to convince Tylan to come with him, which I also thought was comical. Like I knew Tylan was gonna be like, why the hell would I do that? And she
Yeah,
did say
right?
that. She's like, I'm a queen. Like I'm not gonna leave my subjects I'm still the queen of this area. I'm not gonna like just abandon my people.
Yeah.
So she says no, and she still wishes him well. She's like, I'll still support you, whatever. And just to make sure that she is not suspected as being part of this whole escape plan, Matt, ties her up and hides her under the bed. So that way, in the morning, the servants will find her, and
And she's like into it. Like she's
she
like going.
is
She's like, you
into
gotta do
it.
it. She's like,
Yeah.
gotta rip it right
Yeah.
here, and then tie it. And then he's like, she tried to escape just so it could like but like show that she at least had a struggle, so there'd be
It's
no
a
doubt about it.
spicy scene. We get
It, yeah,
maybe a window into what kind of stuff the ribbons were used for, in the pink ribbons or whatever that he burned
right.
a while ago.
Oh my god. This was this scene was just super funny because it well, not only funny, but it was also kind of a little romantic in a weird in a sense. I mean, not a weird sense because it goes to show Matt and Tylen's like actual relationship. Because I know when we first got introduced to this kind of relationship with Matt and her, I know we weren't recording at the time, but it was like it seemed very rapey
Yeah,
esque,
one sided for
one
sure.
sided,
Not non consensual.
but but then like seeing their relationship now, and it's like it's yeah.
Yeah,
That's it.
he's at the Matt's even at the
It's
point where he might even be in love with her because he tells her to come with him. So
like,
yeah, it's
well,
a whole 180.
I don't know if you'd be in love
I
with
mean,
her. I
I don't
think
know, man. You're not gonna tell a woman to come with you unless you really care about him. At least in my opinion. I mean, he's not gonna come out and say it because he's Matt, but I don't know. I think it's implied there.
uh yeah, maybe. But he did end up just leaving her behind. But it was so funny that she was like, you're just a pretty. It's like I'm not gonna leave my whole like kingdom for you. Like, bro,
Well, it's hilarious because like let's analyze the bell curve of this relationship, right? So like the beginning, like you said, it's one sided, kind of rapey, and then now we're at the end of the bell curve where it's like the opposite, where like Matt is invested in Tylen, and Tylen's like, nah, fuck off,
yeah,
just
it
leave me
literally did
alone.
180.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. God, at least now we know that this storyline is over.
Yes. And
Like,
it's very
with them.
symbolic, I feel like, because I mean, when I get to the next part here, but keep going if you want to say anything.
That's about it. It was I don't the whole scene was just pretty good. I think it was well written. I definitely enjoyed it as a reader.
Yeah. Yeah, it's immediately followed up with Matt encountering Tuon. So you kind of have a little
Yep.
bit of symbolism there where there's a clean break between Matt and Tylen. It's like, okay, that relationship is now done. It's over. So
Mhm.
now immediately as he comes out of the room, he meets Tuon, which we know he's prophesied to marry. So he
Yes.
encounters Tuon. Tuon knows that Matt is trying to escape, so she attacks him. They fight for a while, and even though Tuon is described as a pretty frail, like small woman, she's kind of beating him. And Noel, the old man that Matt brought back from the streets of the Ebudar to the castle, he's just living there with him. He actually comes up behind Tuon and then like grabs her, and they're able to overpower her. So uh, Matt ties her up. Julian arrives with his lover, Amathera, who I think is a Shan Chan. She is Shan Chan. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I mean, it
Everybody's
was
just hooking up with
barely
Shan Chan now, but
yeah, everyone. Well, I mean,
I
the
mean that accent,
integration.
dude. That accent.
It's like the Spanish and the uh what are the Mayans?
I
There you go.
guess. I mean, imagine with what they can do with their tongues. So,
Right?
go
But the
ahead.
oh,
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. That was so what's funny is with the Tuon and Matt's fight is like, Matt is not like none of the main three boys are really gonna want to like fight a woman. And that was like whole Rand's whole thing too with what he went through is why he's so hard But then Matt hasn't really gone through something like that. That and his legs all fucked up still. So he's not really fighting his best, but he doesn't really want to fight his best. So, but she's like playing with him and like smiling. He's like, I can see her kind of smiling, but she's not. Or I mean, she is, but she's hiding it pretty well. And then every now and then, like she'd focus more on beating him, and it was a fun little quirky thing because we know as readers that who she is, daughter of the Nine Moons, and everyone remembers the prophecy from the fourth book. I mean, I know it by heart. Well, I'm not going to recite it right now, but you know what I mean. So we all know that she's going to be like the love interest, right? And so watching this little fight kind of is interesting. We get to see both characters kind of react. Mostly her, because we know she's into him. So we get to see how she's like crushing on this guy who's escaping, and most of the time she's toying with him just to see how strong or how manly or how assertive, how aggressive he is, or just to kind of see what he would do, see his reactions, test him. So I thought it was a very interesting segment of
Yeah,
her of
definitely.
getting a more taste of her personality.
Definitely. So she kicked his ass. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, basically. I mean, she basically did.
um, Noel though, coming up from behind and like
Right?
surprisingly very strong, which makes you wonder about him. Is like, is he everything that he says he is? Because for being an old man, he's surprisingly well versed in combat. So
Yeah, he caught two on. He made the golem disappear. He's
yeah,
still a little sus,
little
but
sus still.
a little
Yeah,
sus.
little
But
sus. How did he
I can
know that Matt was there? Just a little
can
sus.
little sus. I can trust him a little bit still. I feel like we're supposed to trust, or we're supposed to think to trust him,
Yes.
but not.
There's just a
He's
little
just
bit
a
of
little
doubt.
sus.
Wouldn't be
Just a little bit of
surprised
doubt.
if there's some kind of betrayal at some point, but we'll see.
Yeah. Is it Osmodian? I'll never know. No,
Yeah, he's
he's
fucking
actually
dead. That
dead.
dude's dead as fuck.
Yeah, they literally wrote at the end. I think it was book 5.
Yeah.
I think it was book 5. It just literally just like Osmodian died.
Rip.
It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
straight up. So
Rip.
we know he's not coming back. Rip Osmodian. You can continue.
All right. So yeah. So Julian arrives with his lover Amathera, and the rest of the I'm just gonna call them the escape squad. So I don't have to list everybody out. The escape squad arrives, and it's revealed to Matt that Tuon is the daughter of the Nine Moons because the
Oh,
Suldam refer to her as that, and they actually kneel to her, or they get on the ground. So
this
yeah, go ahead.
I was to say this part was absolutely hilarious because we were all just wondering when this was gonna happen or how it was gonna happen. And it's just so funny that this chick who's been stalking Matt, and then they have their little fight.
And then
Noel comes
attacks
out.
him. Yeah.
Well, it's just really funny because this plan's gone to shit. There's just too much going on. It has to change it all the time. And then now he gets like that, like the one he's supposed to marry, and all this crap. And Matt's just like, he's like, well, she's coming with us. And then I just imagine everyone in their anime cartoon moment. They're just like, what? Yeah. And he's
Yeah.
just like, she's gonna be my wife. And then her face, like he just
What?
you know what? It's like you see like her eyes, I think, like got wider or something. Like she was like pleased, but she's also just kind of like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, he
kind of
says it
weird.
3 times too. He doesn't
Yeah.
just say it once. He's like, she is. He doesn't even say it in the future tense. He says it in the present tense. He's like, she is my wife, like
Yeah.
as if they're already married. So
It's it's awesome. It's so funny. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Matt, because I think like all this shit is just so much shit going on. The plan's gone to shit, and then he's just been looking since book 5 for this woman, and he finally found her. And he's like, and he's like, of course, it's a fucking Sanchan.
of
He's like, he never
course.
would have guessed. So he's like, he doesn't like the Sanchan. No one does. They're slaveholders. So he's probably what's probably going through his mind is like, I finally got free of being like this sex slave for this queen. And now I'm about to like Now, according to prophecy, I have to marry a slaveholder.
Yep.
Or it's I don't know. I don't know if this was intentional with all like the slave themes going on, but it's like Matt's trying to free all the slaves, uh, and then and there, it's so he can get out, and he's gonna be marrying a slaveholder. So is it like, is he gonna free her from being a slaveholder, or free her mind from being an asshole slaveholder, or is it like showing that he's freeing everyone else, but he's still in chains? I don't know.
Ooh.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not a book
A book,
analytics
a book lore
master.
master.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a lore master. I haven't finished the series yet, so I don't know. Stuff to think about.
Yeah, definitely. Well, adding on to the gang of escape squaddies, Seleucia, whatever. Tuon's hairdresser slash bodyguard, arrives in the room and they're like, fuck. So Matt's like, all right, well, we have to take Tuon, obviously, because she's my wife, and then we're gonna have to take Seleucia too. So let's just take Seleucia. So now we've added an additional two people to this
Yeah.
gang. And in fact, so when Matt says, is like, okay, we have to take Tuon with us, and everybody's like, animate moment, what? But
Hmm.
Tuon actually smiles at that, and it makes Matt shiver. Like he's like afraid.
Yeah.
He's very afraid of her.
Yeah.
And there's just a whole passage in Matt's brain about like how different they are, like you said, slaveholder versus slave, liberator. Very free spirit with Matt versus very controlled with Tuon and the Shanshan. Very
Mm.
animated, easy to
Yeah.
read with Matt versus very reserved and like, has almost an Aes Sedai level ability of hiding her emotions in Tuon. And then on top of that, you have, Matt being a sheepherder from the Two Rivers versus Tuon, who is like one of the highest in royalty of the Shanshan. And it's so much so that even Eganin, who is one of the blood, which is supposedly the best of the best, kneels to her too. So you got a whole lot of parallels where they're very different, but they have to get married. So it's definitely one of those, like, I assume at some point opposites attract kind of situation.
Yeah, because I feel like there's gonna have to be some common ground eventually for them to actually grow feelings for each other. Because besides like physical attraction,
Right.
because obviously physical attraction is not gonna keep it. But right now they're set up to be completely different. So the dynamic, how we're gonna watch the relationship grow with the rest of the series, is gonna be very interesting. And we are like in the second half of the series, right? Like 'cause we only goes up to 14. I mean, there's 15 books. We'll do the prequel eventually, but like after this, it's just 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we got 5 books to see what's gonna come of this relationship.
Yeah, definitely. We're in the home stretch. So it'll be interesting to see how they kindle a fire, if
Yeah,
you
and
will.
I I'm looking forward to seeing this relationship more than I am seeing Rand defeat the Dark One.
Honestly, me too, because obviously, like, the Dark One thing is something that we have seen many times. And I don't think that is necessary. It is the main storyline, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if it's necessarily the strong point of this series, right? Like, the strong point of this series, like we've talked about many times, is like the different perspectives, the relationships between the characters, and all the character development and the detail. So, like, stuff like this with Matt and Tuon's relationship is way more interesting to me as well, in comparison to, like, the chosen one, arc, if you
Yeah,
will. So
I was completely kidding. I'm just saying I
are
want
you
to see Rand
serious?
beat the shit. Yeah, I was just kidding.
I
I'm
honestly,
like,
dude, I honestly don't
well,
care. Like, I mean, I
well,
care.
that's
I
fine.
care. Don't
Yeah,
get me
no,
wrong.
you're
I
good. No,
care.
okay, all
But
right.
this is
I was
something we
just
can definitely disagree on, because, like, I
yeah.
care. Don't get me
I
wrong. But, like, we
I
know what's
care.
gonna
I just
happen.
yeah.
So it's
We
not
know he's
that
gonna beat him.
interesting to me. You know,
Yeah. No, I get it. No,
I'm more in
I
for the
was.
ride. I'm in for the ride.
Yeah.
Just like
To,
with every other series I've read, like media, I feel like is so copied over and over and over again. We all know how things are going to end. So to me, the journey is always the more fun part. The
yeah.
more fun part to me is the hobbits leaving the Shire and having their adventures, not when they destroy the ring, which is obvious to
Yeah,
all.
because
So
it's obvious they're gonna do it. It's
yeah,
Lord of the Rings.
but yes,
So, but yeah, I was So let me go further into basically what
yeah.
I was
Go ahead.
saying is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
so yeah, I cannot wait because like I love big bad versus big good. Like I'm just a sucker for that shit. But like you said too, I love if the journey there isn't good, then the payoff doesn't matter because I feel like that's the problem with a lot of modern movies and TV is that there's nothing really in between that grabs me, that makes me care for the characters. They just go from like A to B and they beat the big bad and that's it. Go home. And it's like we know they're going to beat the big bad, but what makes the story interesting is the relationships like this where you have Matt and her are prophesized to be together. They need each other in order to help Rand beat the Dark One. It's prophesized. So them being completely different, but having that physical attraction to each other is more interesting to see where it develops. That will eventually lead to the ending. So, yeah, the journey there, all about the journey, because we all know how it's going to end. So it's all. So yeah. So I'm not saying I was just. So I made a joke, but this is now me explaining what.
No, we can disagree, man. I mean, I
Yeah,
totally get it.
I like
I mean,
both.
obviously the ending is what everybody wants to see, but I guess just for me in particular, we know how it's. I mean, we don't know how the battle is gonna particularly go out. We don't know who's gonna die. Well, we know Rand's probably gonna die, but or come back or whatever. But um,
He's prophesized to die, so
yeah, so he
they
might die and then just come back, but yeah, like to me anyway, yeah, like the journey is more fun to me just because I know what the unless we're watching some crazy shit, like some that's why Stephen King is kind of fun too. Not to go
yeah.
back on that on a different author, but yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know how the hell that's gonna end, but with this I
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah. Because that's well, and that's another thing too with Stephen King stuff is that that's all journey,
yes,
really. Because I mean, like here in this book series, we have we have the ending. It's like, okay, Rand's gonna fight the Dark One. He has to win. But like Dark Tower, it's just get to the tower. The Midworld's getting destroyed. Just get to the tower, and it's like, well, what the fuck's the tower? How's that gonna save anything? It's like you don't know jack shit. You don't know how anything's gonna happen, but you already know that Rand has to fight the Dark One. So it's like, with Stephen King, I feel like is all relationship buildups and such. Just kind of like what this book series does, but the difference is we know we can most likely predict this book's ending over Dark Tower. No spoilers for Dark Tower. I haven't finished that yet
there's
either.
also a lot of dick in Stephen King, so
Oh,
that's
definitely. There's a
appreciated. Although
lot.
there's kind of like
Oh,
becoming more dick in this book too, so
yeah. But well, this book also has women.
Yeah.
That's just kidding. There's occasionally a woman in Stephen King's. No, I'm just kidding. And snakes.
Yep, and snakes.
No one's gonna get that reference unless
Uh,
they've read it.
no.
Dark Tower. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Well, what's next?
All right. So that is the end of Matt's perspective. We're gonna switch to Rand. So again, kind of continuing the theme of a lot of cliffhangers here, but we're gonna switch to Rand, and we're back in Farmatting. And if you remember, you cannot channel in Farmatting because they have some weird. I think it's a Tarangrial, like in the center of the city or something like that, that prevents channeling. Um, so just gonna bring that out again, but there's a bunch of details in the beginning of this switch to Rand's perspective about formatting. I'm not going to go really into it. Josh, if you want to talk about anything about it, we can, but there's not a ton I wanted to talk about there. Um, The one thing I will mention though is Luce, Theron, and Rand are talking inside their head quite a bit. Luce Theron just reminding Rand, if you try to cleanse the taint, you could die. And he's like shouting in his head. And at one point, even Rand just spills his drink because Luce Theron's just going off.
Yeah.
Eliana!
Ileana, my love. But
yeah, go ahead.
there's not really too much here. It's
Yeah.
like you read the book, and you know about the environment they're in. It's uh pretty basic Rand stuff. Luce Theron's going ape shit in his head. The taint is harming Rand. They're in a place he can't channel. So we know that, and we know since the beginning of the prologue of this book that he is gonna attempt to get rid of the taint. So now this section is finally, it's getting there. Like, we're gonna see Rand continue his goal that he said he was gonna pursue. So I think this part just setting up everything for Rand that we've known through the whole book series thus far, is that the taint's driving him nuts. Luce Theron won't shut the hell up. And then it just shows the setting. So it's the perfect like start point to remind us of what Rand's goal in this book is in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. So after that, Varen and Rand talk for a bit. So Varen tells him that the Shan are building military defenses along the coast and other parts of Andor. Basically, just saying to him that the battles that he fought against the Shan haven't done much to hamper them. It hasn't really made a big impact. So that kind of impacts Rand again. That if you read this series, obviously that's a common theme of Rand. Constantly under emotional turmoil, but he struggles with the idea of sacrificing the men in those battles for nothing. And then after that, he tells Varen, "Hey, could you ask Cadsuane to be my advisor because I think I need Cadsuane's advice." So after that, Rand talks to Lan in a tavern, and they talk about how Cadsuane is hanging out with the rest of the female entourage, Min, Nynaeve, and then the former Damani, Olivia. So Rand actually tells Lan, "Okay, I'd like to leave Farmatting in the morning. I don't think we need to go up to these last Ashaman. Let's just leave." So the girls arrive, Nynaeve, Min, and Olivia, and they kind of talk about Nynaeve's Taron Grials. I'm not going to go really deep into that, but the real kicker of this part is the innkeeper approaches with a letter for Rand, and Min actually gets to it first, reads it, and then attempts to cast it into the fire.
Yeah.
I was like, he's a sealed dragon. Cast it into the fire, sealed door. But Rand catches it and then reads it, which, pisses Min off. The letter tells Rand where the final two Ashaman are. So it tells him, "Hey, they're in this building, and also, could you please leave Farmatting after you're done with this?" So Min is like, "Obviously, this is a fucking trap. Don't go there." And Rand is like, "Well, if you know it's going to be a trap, then it's not." And then Rand, Nynaeve, and Lan go to that building. So they're going to go off to that. And Rand leaves Min behind at the inn, but Min goes and looks for Cadsuane, which is I'm just going to put that detail in there because it'll be important later. But that's kind of the stopping point I have here. That's the end of chapter 32. We'll kind of talk some more about what happens here in the next part. But yeah, if you want to talk about anything, go right ahead.
Yeah. So this whole scene is interesting because, first we get to see how comfortable Min is around Rand at this point. Obviously she is. They bonded him. They have sex a lot. Their relationship's going pretty good.
According to Alana, literally all the time. So
yeah, literally all the time. So you get comfortable enough that she sees this letter and she knows Rand. She knows exactly what he's going to want to do. And so she attempts to get rid of it. So it goes to show that she's she's upset because she knows what he's going to do and she's trying to protect him from it because it's a bad idea. And it was interesting that Nynaeve also went along with this too. Just to goes to show how much she either trusts Lan and Rand. Uh, because I feel like before she would have sided with men, but at this point she's softened up from Lan, so she's more willing to go along with what they want to do, and then Lan's obviously going to go along with what Rand's going to do
Yeah.
because he's the dragon, And I guess Lan respects him in a way.
I feel like Lan is
So
also kind of almost like a father figure as well, a little bit to Rand.
yeah,
So obviously he's gonna do whatever
yeah,
to
he wants
support
to
him.
protect him
Yeah.
as well. So there's just a lot of interesting character dynamics going on here. Is it get to see Nynaeve and how she's changed uh, because of her relationship with Lan. Because I definitely think she would not have gone along with this, but she can't stop him, so she might as well go along with him.
Yeah. Which in my opinion is a
Makes
sign of
sense.
a sign of a healthier relationship. I mean, at some point, you kind of just have to support your significant other, right? So if they want to do something and it's important to them, I mean, there's some things obviously you can disagree on and you're not going to support them, but in general, I mean, you're fucking married. You have to
Yeah,
support each other. So yeah, it definitely shows some growing on Nynaeve's
yeah.
part.
I definitely feel like she trusts Rand a lot more too
Yeah,
these days. But
definitely.
he's not the same sheep herder he was back in
He's
book
not a
one. Like
wool-headed sheep
he's
herder.
he might be bullheaded, but he doesn't not a sheep herder anymore. He's a killer.
He's
Dragon.
rock hard Rand.
Yeah. He's rock hard Rand. Always rock hard. Which we'll get into next video of how
Yes, we
hard he
will.
actually gets.
Yes.
Uh but it's yeah, men's pissed off. Uh yeah.
Yeah.
What are your well, guess we don't really need to do predictions.
Yeah, I think I'll save that for the next part as well. But yeah, I don't have much else to kind of talk about here. We'll obviously get into the finale in the next episode, but is there anything else you wanted to discuss before I kind of close this out?
Uh I guess the only thing is since we've already read the whole book, that's the reason I don't want to do the predictions. So
Yes,
if
exactly.
that makes sense for anyone listening, of like, because we do predictions at the end of
The
every
three
episode,
listeners will be like, "What the hell,
the three
man?"
listeners, yeah, I wanted those predictions. Well, this was originally going to be one video, but it is a lot more detail oriented than because we don't know before we read it. So
Yeah, the middle parts of this book we could kind of skip over some stuff that probably isn't that important, but yeah, in this part a lot of it's important. So
yeah, but I will be going back and listening to the end of some of our previous videos just to see what my predictions were, if I can remember, and see if we get them right.
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Oh,
Well,
I'm
yeah.
good on that.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you all for listening. If you stuck with us this whole time, we appreciate it. To the three listeners out there, feel free to give us a like on YouTube or give us a review on wherever you get your podcast, but we very much appreciate it. And like we said, we're going to cover chapters 33 to the end, the finale of this book, next episode.
Awesome. Smell you later,
We'll see you later.
Red.